Hello, CraftyAndy here, and these are my thoughts. Fall Guys looks pretty fun. I'll probably get the game and play it on live stream at twitch.tv/CraftyAndy Until then, these are my thoughts. Not on the game. Now, something that came up recently with regards to expectations and, well, I guess it does relate to a bunch of people fighting against each other in order to get on top and be the best. Anyways, a internet century ago, a popular and dominating fighting game champion won an award for Best Fighting Game Player of the Year. This is Sonic Fox, and he stepped up on stage and gave us a speech that gave birth to over 9,000 rees.
I'm so nervous. I've never been this nervous. This is more scary than I on Evo.
But it was mainly this part I wanted to focus on.
Guess all I gotta really say is that I'm gay, black, a furry, pretty much everything a Republican hates, and the best esports player of the year, I guess.
It seemed obviously true to me, considering the conservative Republican platform then and now, is that when it comes to discrimination protections, they describe it as wrongfully redefining sex discrimination to include sexual orientation or other categories. And when it comes to gay marriage, their response to that is, our laws and our government's regulations should not recognize marriage as the union of one man and one woman. We do not accept the Supreme Court's redefinition of marriage, and we urge its reversal.
This is preposterous poppycock!
It wouldn't be surprising to see a gay Republican being paraded around like a theatrical prop during this election too, pretending like the Republican Party was always in support of gay people, and so is Trump, especially Trump, even though he still enforces the trans ban and removed protections and also promoted the idea of religious discrimination.
President Trump is the most pro-gay president in American history.
No.
My name is Rick Grinnell. I'm America's first openly gay cabinet member.
You're just taking advantage of the fact that all these politicians were anti-gay when America was anti-gay, and now they're all pro-gay now that America's pro-gay.
As a U.S. Senator, Biden supported Don't Ask, Don't Tell.
Republicans didn't like Don't Ask, Don't Tell. They want to just be like gays banned from the military. Don't Ask, Don't Tell was like the compromise.
Biden voted to cut off federal funds to any school that teaches acceptance of homosexuality.
Okay.
And you know who does that? Every Republican fucking politician at the state level in southern states.
Thank God.
Donald Trump is the first president in American history to be pro-gay marriage from his first day in office.
Also, the first Republican in American history that's been pro-gay marriage at all.
Anyways, many people took issue with Sonic Fox's statement.
That I'm gay, black, a furry, pretty much everything a Republican hates.
In fact, you sound like a bigot to me, my friend. You seem to be generalizing all Republicans as some sort of monolith of hate.
And I want to choose my words carefully here, folks. A phyto-fucking-fervert in a goddamn Disneyland costume, rather than thank relatives or display pesky things like personality traits, instead gave a laundry list of every ism he belongs to under the yellow sun. I can't think of a better setting to advertise your sexual preferences than a conference about kiddie games.
I was taken back by the quivering and Razorfish's statements. Maybe the turning point for me was around here in 2018 as more and more anti-SJW shit became about pandering and triggering the libs. They both made it clear that they don't care, and no one should care if you're black, gay, furry, whatever. That's nice that you don't, but plenty people do. And guess what party they tend to support? Maybe it's because if you are relatively normal, you don't have to think of such things as acceptance and representation, since it's the default for being part of the majority. But when it comes to Sonic Fox, he shouldn't be where he is right now. I shouldn't be where I am right now. None of this is supposed to happen. You see, a lot of us had some type of exposure to church and superstitious, primarily Christian ideology, that looked at queer people as being less than, promoting misinformation that queers are mainly pedos looking to groom children into being part of their agenda, whatever the fuck that means. You see, many people, including myself, growing up in the 90s, we were told and taught that gay people are often predators. It's a lifestyle which includes heavy drug use, promiscuous sex, disease, and early deaths. They would even use examples of homophobic sentiment, the targeted assaults and murders of queer people, as a way to convince others why they shouldn't be gay or trans. They would also preface this by saying, I'm not saying this should be going on or people should do this, but you have to keep that in mind. This stuff happens, as if it was some kind of veiled threat. There is the threat of being kicked out of your home, going straight into homelessness at worst. Sometimes you get what I have, which is the detached alienation, because, you know, in the back of your mind, if legislation came up to undermine your rights short of the death penalty, then you wouldn't care or actively vote for it even. It's nice I can hang a pride flag in my window, but in other countries like Poland, it makes you a target.
See ordinary people shouting that you f***ers are pedophiles, you are going to molest our kids, get the f*** out of our city, you're not welcome here, you're not Poles, you're not Polish people, you should die, die, die. A straight couple came to the Pride March with homemade explosives, and they were stopped by the police. During the trial, they said that they believe that the natural family model is between the marriage between a man and a woman, and that's why they made explosives.
In Russia, it gets you in jail.
A prominent LGBT rights campaigner has been found dead with multiple stab wounds and signs of strangulation in the Russian city of St. Petersburg.
In Syria, they'll just fucking kill you.
Oh man, does anyone ever win at this game?
You don't win. You just do a little better each time.
If you're atheist, I don't know if Sonic Fox is atheist, but I'm atheist. You're not to succeed. You're not to speak up. You are not to be trusted because there is no fear of punishment. As if reputation and accountability means nothing because you don't believe in a sky daddy for no reason.
My beloved father once said to me, I don't care what religion you are, you got enough sense to wipe your own ass, you can't be no atheist.
It was nearly 10 years ago that a study came out that suggested that people trusted atheists about as much as they trust a rapist. And just 2 years ago, there was a study done that suggested that 56% of people would be inclined to vote for a atheist president, as opposed to 96% of Americans who would be fine with a black president. It wasn't even too long ago in the 80s where George Bush Sr. said he wasn't even sure if atheists are considered citizens. According to the American Humanist Association, 13 countries have laws that revoke citizenship, deny marriage, and even have you killed for being atheist. And 49% of Americans in polls would be unhappy if a family member married an atheist, outweighing gun ownerships, people without a college education, or born-again Christians. 65% would hire an atheist over a religious person for a job waiting tables, but only 33% would hire an atheist to work in a daycare center, while $1.2 billion is the amount religious clergy can claim in tax exemptions annually through the parsonage allowance. As far as being black goes, yeah, personal responsibility applies to everyone. That includes the government taking responsibility for the laws and practices that were put in place that ensured generations of black people grow up in poverty, and also gay people just get flat out murdered or put into asylums or camps, etc. And you don't need a schmuck like me to pull up the numbers to prove it. If you actually are curious and give a shit, you'll look into it yourself like I did. Though, to lay it out in a brief summary, so this video isn't a 3-hour class session by an unqualified individual, and not because I'm not black, but because I don't have it as my major study with a degree. Over time, there was a paradigm shift in the Republican Party. There is a reason why the term, you're not racist if you vote for Trump, but if you are racist, chances are you're voting for Trump. There's a reason why this term exists. Property redlining. The term, there goes the neighborhood, is in reference to property values going down when minorities move in. I did have a friend in real estate who said they still do this. off the books, but I have no way to really confirm that. When it was made illegal, the damage was already done. And all that happened was, well, black and brown people were just turned into poor people. Property value taxes determines budgets for things like schools. Turns out shitty schools create people lacking in education in environments with little opportunity to make money and escape.
And now they hate gym because they can't come in here and use any of the equipment. All they're limited to is walking the halls. Our band teacher was laid off about 2 years ago. A performing arts program with no performing arts teachers is an oxymoron.
I don't have reading books.
Now they don't bring books home, you know, and everything is Xerox copy.
We don't have any ink, so a lot of times I have to do this at home.
And whatever economic class you are born in, you are likely to stay in. You have to really fuck up to end up in poverty if you're born in middle class. People love to use Sonic Fox or everyday working people like me as an example of, see, they did it, so can you. They did it, so can you. As if I had no help getting where I am, as if none of us in my current family had no help with anything. It's not that we worked hard and got where we are today. It's that we worked hard, made some good decisions, didn't give up, made connections with people in different cities and states, money from friends and family. Early on, I pretended to be straight through interviews if the topic of relations came up in order to increase my chances of hiring, but also a lot of luck. So much luck. There are so many ways everything could have went belly up along the way to where we are today. And that in itself will make its own Craftyarts episode coming soon. When someone like us succeeds, it's, oh wow, what an example of good, honest work paying off. When someone like us falls to the floor due to an injury, legal matter, an example being not having car insurance while you're driving, the violation will cost you your license and a $5,000 fine in Michigan. I rode that danger road for a while. It turns into personal responsibility. They made bad choices and it cost them. The same choices that led us to where we are today could have just as easily cost us everything, to make it clear. No major illegality about it. You're expected to make it by hard work, and if you don't, there is always some way your problems can be dismissed by both the government and the community that surrounds you. Now, regarding expectations, there are a lot of these negative expectations placed on you for being different. Now, I ignored my bisexuality and I didn't fall out of gender expression normalities. I was a quiet little shit that just wanted to be left alone. I wasn't goth or prep or furry or flamboyant, but that didn't stop me from being singled out by my peers growing up all the way to the middle of high school. You get a lot of expectations imposed on you by your peers and authority figures like your teachers and parents. It can also be created by oneself as a result of the experiences you are having in life. Tell a lonely kid they could go to hell over bad thoughts regarding sex, and wow, wouldn't you know it, you created a fucking self-hating individual. It's hard to describe, but when everyone around you has a lot of names to call you, a lot of ways to mess with you and push your buttons, it can create quite the mental complex. I can't help but wonder, how many do not overcome negative expectations? How many people become a loser just like everyone said they'd be? How many people gave up on taking risks in life for a career or a relationship because they couldn't overcome the negative expectations laid on top of them, keep their heads down instead because they weren't lucky like me and made friends with some people who were willing to kick them in the ass a few times? Because that's what I see in a lot of people, young and old. The what could have been if I wasn't so lucky. I overcame the negative outlook others had on me, including myself, but not before going through a time I believed them. That I believed all the negativity. I had a bleak outlook on myself. I figured I was just going to find a hole to live in with a pet, and that was going to be the end of it. The last time this happened, though, was early college. Just sulking in the basement of my parents' house, saying to myself, I'm exactly what they all said I was. Like they won. Like they won or something. When it came to my first relationship with a woman, First, I felt guilty for having sex before marriage. I tried changing the things I liked, including my hobbies and my sexual preferences and fantasies. It didn't adjust either. And then things fell apart relationship-wise because, hey, it's the first relationship, you're gonna make a bunch of mistakes. I thought I'd never find anything else though, because I felt like I was so fucked up, no one would ever truly understand me, everything that I am, and my ambitions, my dreams. I would just have to put on this face constantly whenever they were around. I kept faking to be normal. I was trying to conform to the expectations that my parents and society generally has for us. If I stuck to those imposed expectations of image and tradition, I wouldn't have done jack shit with myself. First, it goes back to me just living in a hole, or finding almost any woman that would want to date me and just letting things play out, being completely docile as I have a few kids and just go to work, come home, watch TV all day, maybe fix a few things at the house, and then go to sleep. At first, it was accepting myself, of what I was, and stop fighting with myself. And God will have to understand, I told myself. Then it was later scrutinizing the superstition I was taught to believe since birth. And we all know how much evidence superstitious people have to support their beliefs. Then it was finding new people I could relate to. For me, it was furries. Ah yes, the lowest tier on the nerd hierarchy. I love a challenge. Thing is, before all this, I was quiet about being a fan. I thought I could risk losing my friends, family, job if they found out about it over comments I read over the years on the internet. With a professional artist being guest of honor at a convention, Tracy Butler of Lackadaisy. Then there was also one final kick in the ass from one of my best friends at the time. Off I went, and the long story short, I found a new group of people I could be myself around. And since being a furry came with the expectations of you being socially awkward, perverted, and can't function properly in society, right down to taking a shower and maintaining a decent and steady job, I would go to furry conventions and public meetups wearing a suit and tie. I'd make sure I'm clean cut. I would put myself in large social situations and interact with complete strangers.
What is it? So they're having a conversation, I'm not going to interrupt them.
More than that, like a mouthful.
Even if they weren't fucking furry fans and I was out in public wearing a goddamn collar and a tail with no full suit to boot. Imagine how that shit looked. Later, more meaningless things fell away from me. No logical reason to give a shit about a lot of things, really. Traditional marriage, monogamy, faking straightness, pretending to like certain things and not admitting to liking others, to even myself, in order to keep some image of normality. And with my husband being even better at social skills, it led to us meeting and making friends with some of the more recent influential people in my life. If I fell in line with the expectations by parents, society, peers, I wouldn't have pursued improving my art and video making due to my parents' concern regarding the competitive level it requires to be in. I wouldn't have gotten involved with furries because of social stigma. I would have pretended to be straight for the same reasons, and even if I was open to a male relationship, there is the stigma and assumptions when it comes to having an open relationship, and a poly one on top of that. I don't know anything about Sonic Fox's upbringing, but would he have become a good gamer if he just gave into the expectations during that time of growing up, and still, in some cases, depending on where you live, and put a bunch of time and energy into trying to be straight, denying other activities like costuming because a bunch of strangers and video makers might make cringe compilations of him? I'm not saying my way of doing things is to be all end all right thing. You shouldn't conform to social pressures when it comes to your lifestyle, even if my lifestyle is the standard. You live how you want to live, make up your own fucking rules, as long as it doesn't include murdering people. I mean, does that really need to be said each time someone says follow your dreams and make any kind of general statement? Whatever. The point is, just don't be ashamed of it. I don't know how better to explain it. These are just my thoughts. Got any of your own? Comment some suggestions. Give me ideas of anything to draw or talk about. I stream Mondays through Fridays, 5 p.m. CraftyAndy IGMTM on twitch.tv. Gaming on Sundays at 8 p.m. as well. I got a Patreon if you want to support me that way and get free sketchbook access and digital prints, as well as the actual prints physically on sale at the Art Pal store. That is all. Enjoy the piece and have a nice day.